Hi folks, I planned on doing an entire week of videos last week, but ended up getting the China flu and threw my whole week off. But I'm back this week, going to be giving you an entire week of videos, plus my episode 101 of my According to Sam podcast will be published on Tuesday, on the 18th. I had said in my first video that I was going to be publishing my new podcast on Monday morning, but that's actually going to be Tuesday mornings that According to Sam podcast is going to be published. And you can find According to Sam podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. All right, so for today's video, I want to focus on the perimeter, the fencing that was around the Capitol. If you remember, we established the fact that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez admitted to the fact that she was receiving text messages from other members of Congress a week before the January 6th riot. And this is very important because, as I said in the last video, the Sergeant at Arms of the House and the Senate, the Chief of Police for the District of Columbia, the Chief of Police for the Capitol Police, they all testified that they didn't have any intelligence that there was going to be violence, and that's the reason that they weren't prepared. And being prepared is this fencing and perimeter that was set up around the Capitol. Now, if AOC is getting text messages telling her to be careful, that there's going to be violence on January 6th, and the Capitol Police Board and the Chief of Police of the District of Columbia, if they don't have intelligence telling them that there's going to be violence, then how is AOC getting better intelligence than these security personnel, the Capitol Police Board and the Chief of the District of Columbia? Now, let's remember what AOC said. This is what she said again, that other members of Congress were texting her that there was going to be violence and she needed to be careful. We have to know who these members of Congress were, because remember, this is what the fencing and the perimeter looked like on January 6th. And then this is what the fencing and perimeter look like after January 6th. And this fencing with the 12 foot high gate with the razor wire, that fencing stayed up for 6 months, from January to July, almost to end of June. This fencing, there was no threat of any kind in those 6 months. And if you had this fencing, the 12-foot fence with the razor wire, why didn't you use this fencing to set a perimeter on January 6th, and the entire thing could have been avoided? So this is an important question that I want to ask, is why, first of all, the people who should have had the intelligence that AOC had, why they didn't have that intelligence, and if they did have that intelligence, why didn't they set a more secure perimeter on January 6th instead of the perimeter that they set up with these little gates? AOC actually referred to these gates as inky dinky gates. Here's AOC mentioning these gates and the perimeter that was set, and how she herself believed that this perimeter that was set with these inky dinky gates was not secure.
I want to make and pretend, and a lot of these Republicans want to act like this all happened on Wednesday. But these people started coming on Monday. And so when the vote was called, and they were holding rallies and doing all of this stuff, starting on Monday of that day. So when the vote was called, people started people like this crowd that would eventually rush the Capitol, they would start running and like coming near the Capitol when votes were called to see members of Congress walk in. And so I park my car and I park right in front of the Capitol, but actually there's like a fence right behind. It's kind of like if you're in New York City, sorry, I mean, I'm sure other cities do this too, but I'm just speaking to my experience. Like, you know, when you guys go to a parade and there's just like that aluminum fencing to keep the, like to mark off the parade route, and it's just like waist high, just like aluminum fence, and sometimes the police like pull it aside to let people cross the street. There was just one of those in the perimeter around the Capitol. And there are all these people with like these huge like flag poles with the spear tips and whatnot. I remember seeing all of this and being like, this is weird. That's suspicious. Because if you so much as say Black Lives Matter around the Capitol Hill complex, it's like 9 barricades go up. I mean, if you see the protests and the amount of militarization from last year's protests, it was like boom, 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 boom. National Guard comes in, like all these militarized people are around. And here you have, you know, we know that violence is coming. I've been getting all of these, you know, text messages. I've been getting people, and including other members of Congress, telling me that I need to be careful. Lots of people saying that violence is expected on the 6th. And there's like, just like a waist-high parade fence, just one layer deep of it, by the way, not even multiple, just one little inky-dinky aluminum fence around. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but, you know, maybe they plan on putting up more tomorrow because it is Monday, right? It's Monday. You know, they're really expecting violence on Wednesday, so maybe they haven't put it up yet. Maybe it'll kind of come up tomorrow. But that thought was kind of coming into my head.